We ask for your guidance in our discussions this evening, and please give us wisdom concerning the issues we face. Heavenly Father, we give you the glory, and in your Son's name we ask for this blessing. Amen.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum this evening. Appreciate the commission members attending. We do have, before we get into announcements, we do have some special guests in the audience this evening from the Boy Scouts. If you want to come on up, give us your name, your troop number, your rank, and what merit badge you're working on, that'd be great. Step right up.
I'm Jacob Andrews from the Troop 948. We're here working on the citizenship in the community merit badge. We have to, as a prerequisite, to attend a board meeting or like a school board meeting, something like this. I am a star rank, and I'm thankful for you to let us be here. Thank you.
I'm Zeke Ellis, and I am here for my citizenship in the community merit badge, and I am a first class ranking, and I'm thanking for you letting us be here.
Certainly.
I'm Evan Andrews, and I am a first class scout, and I am working on the citizenship in the community merit badge.
Outstanding. And I think we've got one more that just walked in.
I'm Tade Wangberg. I am a first class scout, and I'm working on the citizenship in the community merit badge.
Excellent. Outstanding. Thank you, guys. Announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few. A couple of community meetings that were noted in your packets. The first is Thursday, January 23rd at 6 p.m. at the Snow Branch of the library. It is to discuss a special use application for a commercial kennel proposed to be located at 8920 Old Meadow Way. This is in the Livingston voting district. The second community meeting is on Thursday, January 26th at 7 p.m. at Resurrection Lutheran Church on Plank Road. And this is to discuss a proposed rezoning of 198 acres from rural to planned residential rural for 39 single-family homes. The property is located on the southwest corner of Spotswood Furnace Road and River Road in the Cortland voting district. I'd like to bring to the attention of the Planning Commission that unless something this evening is continued to your next meeting, we do not have any public hearings scheduled for the first meeting in February, so unless something is continued, I'll go ahead and cancel that meeting, and we'll have organization of the Planning Commission at the second meeting in February. And I do believe that Ms. Carter has an item to discuss.
Yes. I discussed a little bit, and Mr. Bullock and I at the last meeting, and he and I have had the pleasure of meeting with staff, and we are working on some issues that we feel need to be addressed. So with that, I would like to remove CA 17-0002 from the agenda so that additional modifications to the Highway Corridor Overlay District can be discussed by the Planning Commission.
Second.
We have a second. Any other discussion on this motion? If not, I'll call the vote. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Any other announcements?
That was it.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, review and approval of the minutes of January 4, 2017. I presume everybody's had a chance to review those. Any questions or comments at this point? If not, I'll call for a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Call the vote. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to public hearings, CA 17-0001. Jacob.
Good evening. Tonight's public hearing is in regards to proposed amendments to the accessory uses section of the county zoning ordinance, specifically related to the slaughter provision of domestic laying hens. The specific changes that are proposed this evening are to the county zoning ordinance in the generalized development standards section, again, accessory uses. This proposal is specific to the backyard chickens amendment. This is not applicable to uses of agriculture, farming operations, those types of operations on 10 acres or more that fall under the definition of agriculture where livestock can be kept. Again, this is specific to those backyard domestic laying hens provisions that we enacted a number of years ago to remove the domestic laying hen slaughter prohibition that's currently within the language. As proposed, the domestic laying hens raised on site for personal consumption may be slaughtered on site only inside a fully enclosed structure where the slaughter is shielded from public view. This was drafted to be consistent with directions that we received from the Planning Commission when we raised this at a work session in March of 2015. With that, staff does recommend approval of this proposed amendment to the county zoning ordinance, and I will take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Jacob? Do we have anybody for the public hearing? Didn't do a sign up. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak to this? I'll open the public hearing. If not, I'll close it. Any further discussion on this? I'll take a motion.
Move for approval. Excuse me. Move for approval.
I'll call the vote, please. Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion is approved. Thank you, Jacob. Next up on the agenda, I guess we're on to discussion items. Capital Improvements Program for fiscal year 2018 through 2022. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Patrick White, former Boy Scout. I'm working on my third year of Spotsylvania County Employment Ben. The presentation I have for you tonight
Are you
is
an Eagle Scout?
I was not an Eagle Scout. A friend of mine, Matt Dodson, got his. It took a lot of hard work. That guy worked on it for years, and it looked really worth it. So go for it, guys. So this case is a conformance check against the comprehensive plan. We're calling it the Capital Improvement Plan Conformity Review. The county's CIP, or Capital Improvement Plan, is a 5-year plan that's used for short-term facility planning. It's updated annually. The Code of Virginia requires that a local planning commission review new additions to this plan regarding whether or not they're substantially in accord with particular elements of the comprehensive plan. There's 4 projects that you'll be hearing about tonight. These projects are summarized in your agenda packet, which you have before you, and I'll briefly touch on them tonight regarding their conformance with the comp plan, which I found all 4 of them do. The first project is a new regional library branch. The project is proposed to proactively place a new library facility in the high-growth Masponic/Kausner's Corner area. The comp plan is pretty clear. It has a guiding principle C4, which is to further the educational, recreational, and cultural opportunities of our county. It further recommends siting library facilities with considerations of transportation obstacles and retail locations. That's just a consideration. The comp plan identifies level of service standards. That information is detailed in your staff report, but briefly, it appears to me, based on my estimate, using the 2016 population, there's a typo on that slide, I apologize, that's based on 2016 population, that we're exceeding that standard by 1%. We also have a standard for meeting room availability, and we're falling short of that, only meeting 87% of that standard.
Excuse me, may I make a comment?
Of course.
You know, we're continually bombarded with this library situation about meeting rooms. And the county owns, I don't know how many millions of square feet of meeting rooms that we could make available to our people through the schools. And we're building these libraries, and 87% of the libraries for meeting rooms. Is that correct? Is that what this thing said?
No, it's not. What it says is that 87% of the, according to the comprehensive plan and its information on meeting rooms, that we are 80% of the minimum standards.
Okay, well, let's just look at the square footage here.
All right?
Just take Salem, for instance. 2/3 of that thing is meeting rooms and places to go to. And we've got a school system that's got hundreds of thousands of square foot of meeting rooms. We've had this discussion several times. And I don't have a problem with building a library if you're going to use it as a library. But you're going to invest millions of dollars in a building to have meeting space that we already own. It's just a comment. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. That was on the library topic. We do have a representative here from the library as well as the fire department. If it's okay with you, I'll continue the presentation and then move on to them or myself for other questions. The second project is on behalf of the Fire and Rescue Department. The item is for the site acquisition, design, and construction of the replacement Fire Station 3. The station is identified as lacking responders bunk space and as just reaching the end of its life cycle. It is not recommended that it be expanded due to its initial design. The comprehensive plan's public facilities element expressly notes a long-term goal to secure land for the replacement of the Station 3 facilities to include a new consolidated site. It's also pursuant to the county's public facility needs 1 and 2 to provide community services in an efficient and cost-effective manner and to provide emergency services to protect citizens and businesses. The comp plan also recommends that new fire stations or emergency management stations be on sites of 5 acres or larger in rural areas in order to accommodate future growth. The third item is the expansion of Rescue Station 6. This facility is the one that's just off of Salem Church Road near the intersection of Route 3. It's at a great location with convenient access to 3 major roadways. It has sufficient garage space for additional ambulances and fire trucks, but lacks the additional space for humans. It is anticipated that this expansion would be a 2-story addition due to the limited size of the site. This proposal also met public facility needs 1 and 2 regarding providing community services and emergency services to protect the citizens and businesses. The last one might look familiar. Last year, we brought to you an item that was for the site acquisition and design of a new Fire Station 12 in the Massaponax Church Road area. That last year by a 3-3 vote, that item wasn't found in conformance. We'd ask you to reconsider that this year. It was put into the CIP by the board, but this item changed that. This request includes the design, site acquisition, and construction of the facility within 5 years. It's an expedited timeline. We're all well aware of the growth that's occurring in the Massaponax and Cosner Corners area. The long-term goal within the fire department's, the public safety element of our comprehensive plan does reference a need for land acquisition for fire and rescue uses in order to relieve the burden on existing fire rescue facilities. Possible locations include the Massaponax Church area. The comprehensive plan's public facilities element also clearly references both siting new stations near mixed-use centers, of which we have certainly 2 of them coming out of the ground in the Massaponax area, and also locating stations with quick access to major arterial roads. Summarizing briefly, those 4 projects have been analyzed for conformance with the comp plan. Each was found to be in conformance for the reasons briefly shown on your screen and detailed further in your packet. Staff requests that the Planning Commission find those 4 additions to the CIP substantially in accord with the comprehensive plan. Acting Fire Chief Jay Cullinan and the Central Rappahannock Regional Library's Director Martha Hutzel are present for the more technical questions you might have. I'll stand by for any remaining questions as well.
Are we voting on each project separately?
You don't need to. You could vote on them as a group, or you could separate them out and vote on them separately if that's the desire of the Planning Commission.
Do you have a recommendation?
Well, if you were going to find them all as inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, I would just recommend one vote.
Yep. I have I'd like to ask a couple questions on the fire station down in Massaponax, if we can. Last year, when this came up, I think there were two overriding issues. Number one was the acquisition of the property, where I think the Planning Commission at that time felt that with the developments proposed for that area, it wasn't necessary to pay money for property, that we could solicit that or get that through some of the developments in the area for a fire station. And then number two, I think we got into a lengthy discussion on what constitutes a call. And if I remember the document, the narrative here, that because of the number of calls from a fire station, and I'm looking for the number now, I'm not seeing it, but it was like 2,100, 2,500 calls per year.
2,500.
2,500 calls per year, that the calls per day just seemed unrealistic, or I guess not, we didn't understand it. Help me out again on what defines a call, and if I do the math real quick, I mean, it's a number of calls per day out of any particular station. Help me understand again how you define a call, what constitutes a call.
The calls that are specified in the comprehensive plan, as far as my understanding, the 2,500, are actually the number of calls that occur within a district. So an incident that occurs within the district, last year we had discussion about the difference between incidents within a district and the number of responses from a station into that district and a variety of other districts. So the 2,500 is the number of incidents within the district that station serves. So that is the threshold that's listed in the comp plan.
You could add, those are individual instances.
Correct, sir.
So it's 2,500 car wrecks, or 2,500 fires, or 2,500 all together.
So one car accident that has maybe 2 to 3 units responding is one call.
That's one call. That's not three calls.
Correct, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that comes out, if my math is correct, that's 7 calls per day per district, is what we're saying.
That's what's listed in the comp plan.
Is that the actual data? Is that, I'm trying to understand,
That's a threshold that was set when the comp plan was developed. That's not necessarily something that has come from our department.
okay. And then back to the acquisition of the property, is it not reasonable to assume that through those big developments that there's property available that could be, part of, without having to?
I would certainly hope so. If there's property available that we can save the money on, by all means.
So what are we asking for in this particular application? Patrick, you said it was to purchase the property, or what? Please review that again for me.
The purpose of this request is only to find that it's substantially in accord with the comp plan.
To do what?
Okay, I see what you mean.
To build a new fire station in that area.
But I want to be clear, but is it to procure to pay for property that we may have?
To acquire property, to design the building, whatever design is needed, and the construction.
Okay, so to acquire the property doesn't necessarily mean to purchase, but to acquire the property by the most efficient and cost-effective means.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
This fire station, of course, we have development, yes, absolutely. And he said district. Now, what was he referring to?
So the district would be the otherwise known as First Due, or the area that is
Okay.
primarily served by that fire station.
Okay. Because in that area, you're not only serving the residents who live there, you're also serving 95, am I correct?
95, as well as the businesses that are in that area. The area that we are looking at is basically the intersection of the districts that are served by Fire Station 4, 11, 8, and 1. So that's really where all those areas come together in the area of Route 1 and Massaponax Church, roughly.
4
So
is in your district, right? Am
that's
I correct?
the 4 Mile Fork Fire
Right,
Station. Yes, ma'am.
okay. And then 8 is
8 is Thornburg.
Thornburg,
11 is the new station at Lee's Hill.
at Lee's Hill, okay.
And of course, 1 is the courthouse.
Right, okay. So they are in good proximity of 95 and what's needed in that area, but they're not there.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand. And I believe that probably, if you all had it divided up, you'd probably see that quite a few of those calls are from 95.
There are several, definitely several calls every week. I can't say that that is the overwhelming majority of calls that we have. There are a lot of accidents along Route 1 and the other feeder roads, Route 17. But with the additional construction of various developments, residential and commercial, we are seeing a continued growth in the amount of calls that we have every year.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you.
Mr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jay,
Yes, sir.
couple things. One is basically on our urban areas, especially like Company 4, and we just built 11, and the purpose of 11 was to take some strain off 4. In 4 right now, how many units do you have staff there?
Presently, on a regular basis, we staff 1 engine and 1 ambulance.
Okay, and so what I'm trying to get at is two things, and one is the distance. We have to look at two things, because when we started this process, urban, we looked like a 3-mile radius, and then in the rural areas, we did 5-mile radius, you know, trying to, because due to the traffic stuff. But the other option is, and I'm not advocating, we don't need the station, I'm just wanting to kind of clarify a little bit. Because when you build a new station, you have to put new apparatus in it, and you have to staff that station.
Yes, sir.
Which is understandable. And then even the money, the CIP is showing this station is not going to be finished till 2021 or 2022 or something of that nature. So in the meantime, the calls are going to go up.
Yes, sir.
Which is normal. So, which means that you could base Company 4, staff it more with additional people, and then that would bleed over to the future station.
That is certainly an option that I've looked at, and that we're actually going to continue looking at based upon the call volume in that immediate district. One of the things I actually just provided to Wanda today was I did a study of the areas during the FY16 year, as far as, because of course Company 11 wasn't open at that point, but taking into consideration if 11 was open, what the impact would be on Station 4's call volume during that fiscal year, it would still be almost 1,000 calls above the 2,500 threshold that had been set. So in the future, there will likely be a need to place additional staff in the Company 4 station. However, the area that I'm looking at here, while it's within a 5-mile range of, as far as that intersection, between 4 and 8 along that Route 1 corridor, it is outside of the 6-minute response time standard that has been set. That stretch, basically from the old lumberyard, I guess in the area of Pick-a-Part now, from Old Telegraph Road through to Massaponax Church Road, that is outside of the 6-minute response time area that we are looking to serve. And with the amount of development that is slated to go into that area, we would be putting a lot of developments into an area that is outside of our response time goal as it sits right now.
Yeah, and that's a point I kind of want to make here, there's two things. Operationally, we can deal with the additional calls, but where it becomes really a problem is when that response time that you have, and then the calls are clogged up, and now you've got a secondary area going to the call, which is even making the time even worse.
Exactly. And if you look at the proposal as far as the expansion to Station 6 on General Sims at Salem Church, that station is in a prime location that we're able to access various areas of that district relatively quickly. It has the bay storage, but it is also exceeding the call volume threshold that we have set. So instead of trying to find another piece of property to build yet another fire station, we want to be able to house additional people on there. The problem is it was designed basically for a volunteer from home response. It has some bunk space and living quarters, but it does not have the facilities to house a 24/7 operation.
And then also the replacement Company 5 actually pushed out a little bit further. Means it doesn't
Right.
support 6 as much as, it did
It,
at
it-
one
right,
time.
it calls 6's area to grow somewhat, which adds additional calls.
And then, while I've got you on Company 3, which is in Berkeley, I'm very aware of it. You still have the rescue squad and the rescue unit and the fire unit. Does rescue still have the place down the road, or did they try to pull together?
They still have the building. They are not operating out of that
Okay.
station. Actually, no one's operating out of that station. We moved the ambulance to the fire station. That fire station is owned by Spotsylvania Volunteer Fire Department. It's the only station that we operate out of that's not county-owned. It's basically a metal building that was built in the 80s to meet an immediate need. And again, the characteristics of our response system have changed significantly since then.
Right. And so we're going to use the same site. We'll just do a different design there, or are you thinking about doing a whole different site? Because it's got the Ruatan right next to it.
We will probably need to look for an additional site. That's
Okay,
what we're
all
looking
right.
at. Probably moving it a little bit further north on Partlow Road to cover a little bit more of that response area along Marie Road and up Partlow Road.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
Any other questions at this point? I do have a question on the library. I don't know if Jay wants to answer that, or. I guess my question is, in terms of libraries, what we are doing, given all the modern technology that we have, and it gets back to the meeting space that my colleague talked about earlier. And, with the technology with Skype meetings and all these other things, again, we all want great libraries, but I guess my question is, what are we doing to stay up with the technology? How are we taking advantage of that? We definitely want to invest in something like this, but again, keep costs reasonable, but yet stay up with technology. Can you just walk me through that?
Absolutely. The regional library has always kept up with technology, so we have Skype capabilities. We have meeting rooms in several of our locations that are heavily wired. Anyone could have a meeting there and use one of our built-in LCD projectors. They could use the screen. They could Skype in other people for an interview, for instance. We have e-books, e-resources, e-audiobooks. We recently bought into a new online training, it's online video training for a wide variety of subjects called lynda.com, and anyone could use that from any of their home or library or office as long as they have a regional library card. So there are those meeting room needs, but the meeting rooms are not just used for meetings per se. That's where we do our story times for children. That's where we do our early literacy classes. That's where we might have a Girl Scout meeting, a puppet show, an author visit, any number of reasons that people come into the library. They come in to check out books and movies, and they come in to use our computers. But they come in for so many other things now than people used to use libraries for. So the group study rooms are hugely popular, and there are 8 or 9, I believe, in Stafford County and 3 or 4 in Spotsylvania County in our branches. People use those for study. So with technology, people can earn a college degree online now. And we have had many people come in and spend the better part of a day with their laptop or one of our computers and finish their college degrees or earn a master's degree that way.
I'm sorry, if, in terms of an occupancy rate, I guess I'd frame it, what percentage are they utilized? Do you have any data on that, or?
I have a lot of numbers. I don't know that I have it as an occupancy rate. Do you mean library usage?
Yeah, well, these meeting rooms, how often out of the course of a day, I guess?
Well, at Salem Church, they're used continuously. There's a battle, basically, for computer usage. So Salem Church, over a 3-day period, in January of this year, we had 2,324 people come into the building in a 3-day period. We had 297 people attend 29 different classes, programs, or meetings, either something we provided or something that someone else was hosting there. In FY 2016, we had 800,994 people walk through the front door of Salem Church. So those are not 800,000 different people. You have many residents who use the library every single day. They live nearby, they're retired, they're a homeschool group, or they're just a person who loves to read and loves to use libraries. In terms of both your Spotsylvania branches, the Snow branch and the Salem Church branch, we had 180,000 community members attend meetings at those two buildings. And that was in one fiscal year. So 40% of the total circulation of the Central Rappahannock Regional Library is from Spotsylvania County residents, either at these two locations or from the headquarters building. So it's based on where you live.
Excellent, thank you. Any
You're
other
welcome.
questions?
Yes, I do. You said homeschool groups?
Virginia has a lot of homeschool groups in this area.
I heard that not too long ago. But I thought homeschool was a family doing homeschooling. Boy, I'm behind time.
It is, but of course, they need a library in order to do that, because if you're going to a regular school, you have access to a library. If you're at home, you would only have access to the books your family owns. And if you had internet access at home, you would have access to that. But there are a lot of regular homeschool groups who meet in our libraries on a regular basis.
All right, and you say groups.
A family, there are homeschool sort of organizations so that those children who are homeschooled don't miss out on things like field trips, visits to the library, and social interaction with children of their own age. So they would maybe meet up at the library and have the library as a field trip, come to one of our events or our programs or classes, or they would have advanced tutoring. A lot of those homeschool parents are not necessarily qualified in a foreign language or Algebra 3 or physics, so they might meet their other homeschool parent at the library who is qualified in those areas, and that's how they get all of their education done. But I am not a homeschool parent, but I do not recommend homeschooling without using the local public library.
And when we say groups, okay, suppose that I have my child there, but then somebody else brings their child, and somebody is teaching these children. Is that called a group?
Generally, those groups would reserve the meeting room in advance. So,
and they can be homeschooled through that group. Am I correct?
According to the law in Virginia, yes.
Didn't know that.
Yes. And they often earn their degree, either they take the GED or they earn it through some other online service, which they can also do at the library. So, for instance, in this area, there's a group called REACH, which is a homeschool umbrella organization. They meet at almost all of our branches on a regular basis. And they are, as a group, it might be 6 or 8 different families who are coming together
Very good.
and homeschooling their children at the public library. It's been happening for many years.
On that. Wanda, and I believe there is a library being proposed in the Massaponax area. Is that correct?
There's this proposal before us this evening. I'm not aware of any other library proposal.
Well, you know that we have property for a library in Lee's Park.
Yep.
Spotsylvania Parkway.
Yeah, property that was designated, yes.
Yes. So are you looking in that area?
I will admit, Mary Lee, that I became the library director about a year ago, and I was not aware that the county owned property still for a library.
Yes.
Your I don't know what that is called, your project name mentions a storefront library as a possibility, which many areas do now. The Jefferson Madison Regional Library turned an old store into an absolutely beautiful library over near Charlottesville. There's one also in Gloucester, Virginia. There are several in Virginia. So the possibility of either a standalone building, similar to Salem Church or the England Run branch in Stafford County, or one of the large empty big box stores in Massaponax would make a beautiful library. The parking is already there. It's a less expensive project, and it's a lot faster to do.
Well, you have the property, now you all get the funding, and you can... Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just one thing, and I noticed also on the Massaponax Library that this is a future bond referendum. There's no funding here.
Correct.
So it will have to go at the bond referendum, and I trust it's not going to happen this fall in election year.
No.
It may happen the next year,
Yes, sir.
possibly, but it is a referendum, so which will have to happen, and so there'll be a lot of opportunities to kind of revisit this and look at that. But I do, and as you and I spoke earlier before the meeting, and Ms. Carter is completely right, there is one piece of property that is actually zoned commercial that is right there. So that is a possibility and the storefront may be a better thing also.
Sure.
But all those pieces can be put together, as we go. But as far as, the need for it in that area, the need is definitely going to be there. Yeah.
The need is great in the Massaponax area. As you know, that is the high-growth area for this county, and it would take a lot of heat off of our Salem Church branch. It's very heavily used.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
One
it.
more thing,
Yeah,
please.
Ms. Carter, go ahead.
There, at Germanna, they had a lot of funding, contributions, and they named rooms after some people. We can go to work and do that.
I'm very happy to do that. Thank you.
Any other?
Chairman, I
Yes,
one
sir,
other question.
Mike.
Excuse me.
Sorry, it is a combination question. For Patrick first, though, one of the questions that came to mind when you went over the 87% as a level of service standard, right? So we have the level of service standard that we have at 87%, and we're saying we're a little less than that right now, according to a 2016 population for meeting space, correct?
Sort of. The different meeting rooms and the total square footage of them are calculated in the comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan says that per every resident, 0.2 square feet of meeting room should be available. So if I multiply our 2016 population by that 0.2%, I get a number that's 87% of what it should be.
Okay. And so along those lines, and with the library, I think a question that was kind of asked, but I don't know if it was answered, you may not have the numbers in front of you, is what percentage of your meeting rooms are used? What percentage of the time are they used? Because we have a level service standard of 87%, and we have other meeting space in the county that count towards the total square footage there, but are really utilizing them. So do we have an 87% that we're trying to hit, but it doesn't really matter because we're only using 50% of that space?
Well, let me try that one more time. Perhaps I didn't get it out right. The total square footage of the meeting rooms that we have in the county equals 100%. And that's what's 87% of what we should have.
Correct. So I'm saying we have a level of service that is one standard that we're using, understandably so, as far as the ability of that room based on population. And then we should have a utilization of the space that we currently have to see where that balance is. Because we may not be hitting one level of service, however, we may not have a need for it because people aren't strictly using a space like this. They're using the smaller group rooms for study, and those are 100% utilized. That's kind of where I was trying to figure out.
They use both, and the library uses the larger rooms for our classes and events that we offer for children, for tax preparation, for Job Help Center, for how to write a better resume and get a better job. So in Spotsylvania County alone, we turned down meeting room requests that would have served 5,416 people in fiscal year 16. So the number of meetings for that I don't have, but when someone requests a room and we say, what size room do you need? I have a meeting of 25 people. No, we have nothing available on any of the days that you need to meet. So at Salem Church, the smaller and medium-sized rooms are busy continuously. The large room is busy frequently. And at Snow, there are 2 rooms there that are, I would say, 50% of the time the branch is opened. You know, many of that is during the day, and people are at work. So the times that they want to meet is evenings and weekends. We're open evenings and weekends, but we can only accommodate so many people. The other statistic that I think is important to say here is the comprehensive plan has your guidelines and your level of service standard. The state of Virginia recommends 0.6 square feet of library space as the absolute bare minimum, and those ratings are like bond ratings, so that's a single A rating. I would not strive to have the lowest. I would strive to have the highest if it was possible. A double A rating is 0.7 square foot per capita, per person, and a triple A rating is 1 square foot per person. So we do have meeting rooms, but that's not our main mission. Our main mission is to offer lifelong learning for everyone in the community.
Thank you.
One more thing.
Yes, Ms.
Here I
Carter.
go, I'm sorry. The problem I see is that when we say library, we think of somebody going in, getting a book, checking it out, and that's it. I mean, you're coming up with all of these services that's going on, and you're saying they're meeting rooms, and we think about social meeting rooms when we say meeting rooms, almost, either something there, but that's not it. I mean, it's so much more.
Yes.
I need a list of what you're doing.
Well, as society has changed with technology and online learning, the library has changed with that. Many people still come in, get a book, and leave. But other people come in and stay for a very long time and use all of the other services. We have free notary services. We have computers that people can use for free. We have free computer instruction. We have maker labs at our libraries. It's all about learning, and it's all about education. We have Wi-Fi access. We have thousands of people use our Wi-Fi. We have tens of thousands of people use our computers. And Spotsylvania has a fair number of people who do not have high-speed internet access. We're actually in the middle of a project with Spotsylvania County to offer Wi-Fi access, and one of the sites is the Belmont Ruritan Club. So we are working with Jane Reeve and with Mr. Taylor and Mr. Cole to bring our computers and our services out to your rural areas where Wi-Fi access is not available or it's out of someone's price range. So a lot of what libraries do these days is offer computers and computer instruction. It's a digital literacy. You can't apply for a job now without doing it on a computer. Even McDonald's or Walmart, you cannot apply for a job without doing it on a computer.
Well, I've listened to you sometimes, and you haven't explained all of this, and I think, what in the world do they need with all that funding? But now that you're here and know the services that you all are offering,
we have a wonderful
difference.
Libraries are not like they were when we grew up. They're not your grandma's library. They're just not, and the rest of the world isn't either. Mine either. One of the wonderful things we have at Salem Church is something called Our Space, and that was funded through a grant from the Sunshine Lady Foundation, and it's after school homework help and computer laptop use for middle school kids. And it's at capacity, and we have a waiting list on it and have for years. And that group of children is just the very kind of child who needs to be in a place like a library or in a good, safe place, because there isn't always someone home to greet them when they get off the bus.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Back to my first question where I asked if we wanted to group these together. Based off our discussion tonight, I'm perfectly fine grouping these together, and if could I have a second on that?
Second.
Any other discussion? I'll take call for the vote. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time, both of you, this evening. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, sir.
What are we on to next? New business?
Well, with that, I just want to remind the Planning Commission that your next meeting is canceled.
I don't see any problem with that. Any other public comment this evening? To the Boy Scouts, good luck. Thank you for coming this evening. My son's in the middle of his Eagle Scout project, so it's hard work. So thank you for coming this evening. Hope you got us. Yes, ma'am.
Another quick comment.
Yes,
the
ma'am.
library has enjoyed many Eagle Scout projects over the years, and we are always looking for more Eagle Scouts to do more projects for us. So if you need a project, please contact the library. We'd be happy to help you.
With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Call the vote, please.
Second.
It is unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a month.